There was a time when the best batsman in the world walked out to bat already worried. Not against a 150 kmph fast bowler, not against a snarling enforcer with a heavy stare, but against a quiet, almost expressionless spinner from Sri Lanka who looked like he belonged in a classroom more than a battlefield. And yet, within a few overs, chaos would unfold. That man was Ajantha Mendis. India feared him, South Africa dreaded him, commentators struggled to explain him, and Lords, yes, Lords ended up attaching his name to a delivery that would become part of cricket's everyday language, the carrom ball. For a brief period, Ajantha Mendis looked like the future of spin bowling. Sri Lanka believed they had found the successor to Muttiah Muralitharan. Analysts called him revolutionary. Experts said he would dominate for years. And then, somehow, the mystery faded. So what happened? How does a bowler who once broke records for fun disappear before turning 30? To understand the fall, we have to understand how extraordinary the rise truly was. Ajantha Mendis was born on 11th March 1985 in a small hamlet in Moratuwa. There was nothing glamorous about his upbringing. No headlines predicting greatness, no fancy academies, just cool cricket and raw curiosity. In 1998, when he was only 13 years old, his school coach Mr. Lucky Rogers noticed something different. At the time, Mendis wasn't even the spinner we would later know. He bowled slow medium with a touch of leg spin. However, what stood out was control, and more importantly, an instinctive understanding of how the ball behaved. By 2000, he was captaining his school's under-15 team, and soon after, he was named best bowler in big matches in both 2001 and 2002. So while the world had never heard of him, he was quietly building confidence and discipline. After finishing school, he joined the Sri Lanka Army's artillery regiment as a gunner. That environment demanded structure and resilience, and those qualities carried into his cricket. Representing the army in domestic competitions, he became known for one thing above all else: taking wickets relentlessly. Then came the 2008 provincial tournament. 68 wickets in 9 matches. That number wasn't just impressive, it was impossible to ignore. And it was during this tournament that people began calling him a mystery bowler. That tag followed him, and soon, Sri Lanka selectors had no option but to see whether this mystery could survive at international level. His opportunity arrived on the West Indies ODI tour in 2008. Debuts are often tentative. However, Mendis arrived with 3 for 39 of 10 overs. And more importantly, he left batsmen confused. There was no dramatic change in action. Everything looked similar. Yet, every single ball behaved differently. Rob Stein famously said, "I've just seen the future of spin bowling, and his name is Ajantha Mendis." That statement carried weight because it wasn't exaggeration, it was accurate. Then came the Asia Cup. Picking him against India and Pakistan, two teams traditionally strong against spin, was considered a gamble. However, it turned into a masterstroke. He took 11 wickets in 4 games, and then in the final, he produced 6 for 13 against India. 6 for 13. Yuvraj Singh, MS Dhoni, Virender Sehwag, none of them could properly read the carrom ball. Sri Lanka romped to a 100-run victory, and in doing so, Mendis evolved from a promising newcomer into genuine threat. Soon after, he became the fastest bowler to reach 50 ODI wickets, achieving it in just 19 matches, a record that still stands. Then came Test cricket, and instead of slowing down, he accelerated. Against India in July 2008, alongside Muttiah Muralitharan, he rattled the batting order and secured match figures of 8 for 132, becoming the first Sri Lankan to take 8 wickets on Test debut. Over the 3-match series, he collected 26 wickets at an average of 18.38, surpassing Sir Alec Betzer's record for most wickets by a bowler in a debut 3-Test series. At one point, he had 6 different variations within a single over, leaving Rahul Dravid, VVS Lakshman, Sachin Tendulkar and Saurav Ganguly visibly uncertain. Even Muralitharan acknowledged his brilliance, stating, "When I started playing Test cricket, I wasn't as good as Mendis. He's exceptional. He's the future of Sri Lankan cricket." By September 2008, he had won the ICC Emerging Player of the Year award and earned places in both the World Test and ODI 11. Strategy meetings around the world shifted tone. Teams were no longer obsessing solely over Murali's Dusra. They were scrambling to decode Mendis' carrom ball. His dominance extended into T20 cricket. He was the leading spinner at the 2009 World T20 in England, proving his effectiveness beyond Sri Lankan conditions. Then, in 2012, he produced 6 for 8 against Zimbabwe, still the best figures in T20 internationals. He also took 6 for 16 against Australia in 2011, making him the only bowler with 2 6-wicket hauls in T20Is. In both the 2009 and 2012 tournaments, Sri Lanka reached the final with his contribution central to their campaign. At that moment, the future seemed secured. The foundation of his success lay in variation. He could bowl off breaks, top spinners, googlies, and deliveries that skidded straight on. However, the carrom ball became his identity. Released by flicking the ball between the thumb and a bent middle finger, it looked harmless in flight, yet at the last moment, it darted unpredictably. He would deliberately leave mid-on open, tempting batsmen into thinking there was an easy single. Instead, the ball would sneak through or strike the pads. It wasn't just spin bowling, it was manipulation. It was psychological cricket at its finest. Interestingly, in 1973, former Australian coach Peter Philpott predicted that an off-spinner could develop a disguised leg spinner using the Everson method. I could visualize such a bowler causing great concern amongst batsmen, and young off-spinners might be well rewarded for experimentation in this field. He imagined such a bowling causing chaos. Mendis became that prophecy. However, cricket evolves. At first, the dip was gradual. He remained effective through 2011 and 2012, even though back injuries began interrupting his rhythm. Yet, as teams invested heavily in video analysis and opposition research, patterns became clearer. It became evident that Mendis relied heavily on the carrom ball for his wickets. India were among the first to adjust. They decided they would not play the on-drive to the carrom ball. Instead, they played straighter and reduced the risk of LBW and bold dismissals. Other teams copied the approach, and gradually, the mystery turned into method. At the same time, recurring back injuries hampered his progress. He made several comebacks, but each return lacked the sharpness of his peak. Moreover, because he had not played extensively in higher domestic divisions, he did not have a strong competitive base to recalibrate his game against top-tier opposition. He continued appearing in wide ball formats until 2014. However, he missed out on 2015 World Cup, and in his final ODI against New Zealand, he finished with 0 for 49 in a 7-wicket loss. After that, the international chapter quietly closed. One of the most extraordinary bowling talents of the modern era, a man who advanced his craft in a way few spinners had since Shane Warne, found himself playing club cricket in Colombo as a specialist batsman in later years. And that outcome reflects not only his personal journey, but also the relentless nature of modern cricket, a game that evolves, analyzes, and adjusts at unforgiving speed. Across formats, Mendis took 70 wickets in 19 tests, 152 wickets in 87 ODIs, and 66 wickets in 39 T20Is. Strong numbers. And yet, because of how he once soared, because of what 2008 promised, they feel like a story interrupted rather than completed. Ajantha Mendis will always be remembered for the torment he inflicted on India. Sachin Tendulkar, who had mastered Shane Warne and Muralitharan, initially struggled against him. That alone says everything. Today, many bowlers use the carrom ball, but it traces back to one quiet innovator from Moratuva. So what happened to Ajantha Mendis? He wasn't exposed overnight. Instead, he collided with a sport that adapts ruthlessly. Injuries slowed him, analysis decoded him, and cricket moved forward at relentless speed. However, for a brief and unforgettable window, Ajantha Mendis made the world's best batsman look uncertain. And in cricket, this is something very few bowlers ever achieve. So guys, that's it for today's video. If you want to see how good was Chaminda Vas or Kumar Sangakkara, click on the videos being displayed on your screen.